Yeah, once I get everything. Okay, so I've got my audio separately being recorded, and the video is recording, and you've got us both recording. Do you have your your voice alone being recorded?
I have my voice alone and your voice alone being recorded.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. But your voice alone is like local. It's not through Skype, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because it sounds like shit through Skype. Well, actually, your voice through Skype to me sounds pretty damn good. But I know mine through Skype sounds like shit for some odd reason. All
No,
right,
you
so
sound okay to me.
what the fuck is the name of the channel again?
It's Cinema Starved.
Cinema Starved. Yeah, I thought of that while I was taking a shit.
You're like, oh, so starved for
I was like,
cinema.
fuck it, I'm gonna get this channel started because I mean, like, if there's one thing I've been doing longer than fucking video games, well, I don't know. Yeah, I guess probably longer than video games is watching and loving, movies and stuff like that. Cause when did the fucking Nintendo come out?
The Nintendo, like in the 80s. I don't know. I don't know what
89,
year.
80, 88, some shit like that. I don't know.
I don't think it was 88. I think it was older than that.
I mean, it was pretty close. I remember having like a Pong machine. It's a standalone. It was a standalone unit, and you just like back and forth, which sucks. But see, the joy of that is decimating your opposition, which I did, and then they got rid of it because nobody wanted to play anymore because they didn't want to play against me.
Of course. Okay, I just checked, and this shit came out in '85.
What,
Told
the NES?
Yep.
Oh, well, I didn't get one until a few years later, I guess. So we were a late adopter, a poor family. But yeah.
Came out
So,
in '83 in Japan, but yeah.
yeah. So, I've I've loved movies and shit like that for as long as I can remember. You know what I mean? Like fucking Batman and like TV. I've always been very, I don't know. It's nothing special, but like, I just stuck with it and I grew, my taste grew. So anyway, I don't know what the point of that is except to set up who we are in case
Yeah.
people come here and then they're like, who the fuck are these guys? We don't know anything about video games. Which, yeah. So, yeah, we love movies, and so, whatever this channel ends up being, that's fine. It's primarily, obviously, only going to be about movies and TV shows and stuff like that. So, Cinema Starved is the name, and here we are talking. What, do you have anything to add to that introduction of ourselves?
All I want to say is, if you want to know my origins of like movies and shit, when I was younger, my family was a little better off, and because of that, we would go to watch a movie in the theaters like almost every weekend. Like we would just go and fucking watch movies like all the goddamn time.
Damn, you guys are rich.
Yeah, we were really well off because my dad used to own his own company. Um, so we used to go to the movie theater like a lot. And I remember watching like tons of fucking movies as a kid. I remember watching Starship Troopers in the theaters. That's when a lot of people were like, "Holy shit, you saw that in the theaters."
Yeah, man, that really shows how young you are.
Yeah.
To me, at least.
I saw like Twister and fucking like Alien Resurrection and just like a lot of like the popular movies that were coming out in like the early '90s. Like I was fucking there. And of course, you mentioned Batman. I fucking loved Batman as a kid. I watched had the VHS tape and just like rewatched it like so many times.
Well, I got the VHS tape when it first came out, like to VHS. My sister rented it for me because, we couldn't afford to go to the theaters and shit like that. So it was like, she brought it home from Blockbuster or whatever the fuck it was, and I was just like, boom. I watched that shit repeatedly. I literally watched it and then rewound it and watched it again.
Yeah, I did the same. Like I fucking watched the shit of that movie. It's just so much.
Yeah. But, you know, every once in a while, a movie will do that, you know, where you can watch it and watch it and watch it. Not very often, you know, there's some other examples. Like, I've seen Point Break, like, probably over 1,000 times easily. Terminator 2, Terminator, some movies that I don't really like, but, you know, siblings and stuff made you, that you
I find
babysit.
that for me personally, a lot of like Kevin Smith's movies are very rewatchable just because they're not like very deep movies. They're just like simple entertainment. And I could just like rewatch them and just like easily digest them and just have a good time.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I mean, I think Clerks and Mallrats are probably. I mean, I like Clerks 2 also, but Clerks 2, Mallrats. I like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. That's probably. Is that even done by Kevin Smith?
Yes, it is.
Okay. It definitely doesn't exactly. Except for Dogma. Those are
I like Dogma a
basically.
lot.
I would say those are the cream of the crop. Like,
My favorites are Clerks, Chasing Amy, and Red State. His the Red State's like the most recent one he made. It's not even
I have
any.
not seen that. I didn't even
I
like put out
I
any
think you'd
movie.
like it. It's really good. It's
Really?
not like any of his other movies. It's not like a comedy or anything. It's very different. It's really gritty and good.
Well, Jersey Girl wasn't exactly like his stuff either.
That's like one of the few movies by him that I haven't seen. That one and Cop Out, which I hear are like not his best.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I like Chasing Amy. It's either like I either like it or I don't really like it. You know what I mean? So that's, I mean, I don't know. He's just kind of meh. It's not like I really really love anything that he's done, but yeah. So basically, I guess that's all segueing into like There Will Be Blood, which is what we're basically here
Yes,
to
which
talk
I think
about.
I believe you've told me is your favorite movie ever, right?
I mean, that's a pretty comfortable assertion by myself. Even though it's like, you know, I'm sure if I really, really thought about it, there's some other movies where I'm like, ugh. Like, love Blade Runner, but I haven't seen Blade Runner as many times. Obviously, I love Point Break, which, you know, I've seen that movie probably more than, you know, There Will Be Blood, like, easily. I mean, I used to watch that movie over and over and over and over and over again because, I don't know, nothing else to do. Didn't want to go outside and play, so watch movies. Watch Point Break. Um, yeah, Point Break's a pretty damn good movie. I mean,
I
yeah,
haven't seen it.
I mean, it's a little bit dated, you know, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not like a masterpiece, you know, in like the conventional sense and
Well, you know, I don't expect everything I watch to be a fucking masterpiece or a 10 out of 10 or fucking gonna make me jizz. Sometimes you just want, you know, something that's just entertaining.
yeah, and that's what it is. It's entertaining. It could do better. I mean, like, but I love, you know, the basics of that movie, and I love Gary Busey, which is one reason why I love that movie. Gary Busey just fucking cracks me up. Like, he's just fucking literally insane. So, but yeah. Anyway, There Will Be Blood. Well, real quick, like off the top of your head, can you name one movie that you would singly, like, and easily say is your favorite movie ever?
Seven Samurai.
Seven. That's a good one, actually. I have the DVD laying over there in a pile of stuff.
I've seen that movie a bunch of times. I fucking love it. It's just great. I fucking love Akira Kurosawa. He's a great director.
Mm-hmm.
Some like I've watched a few of his other movies like Yojimbo, Rashomon, Hidden Fortress, Sanjuro. Like all of them really good movies. But Seven Samurai for me is at the top. Just
Yeah.
not just with his movies, of course. Just in general, it's like
Akira Kurosawa, he's like, in American terms, North American terms, like what director? I would say like Steven Spielberg. Uh, what's the guy who did Star Wars?
George
George
Lucas.
Lucas. Yeah, yeah. I would
Well,
say he's
Hidden
like,
Fortress actually inspired Star Wars directly.
yeah. Okay. Nice factoid there.
Mm-hmm.
I would say
yeah.
that he's like sort of like them, in Japanese culture.
Like, so I think if any Star Wars fans are listening to this and you didn't know that shit, you should probably go watch Hidden Fortress. It has one of the very few like spear battles ever. Like, there's not a whole lot of battles involving spears that I can think of in movies or anything. And Hidden Fortress has one. It's a really good one. But other than that, of course, it is a really good movie. Because I think what Kurosawa's strength is he likes to take like a simple story, but like the human element in it is just brings so much life and depth to it.
So with the spears, it's kind of like lightsabers, huh?
In a way, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So.
So with there will be blood. So
there will be blood.
I really liked the irony in the title, where like the movie doesn't really have a whole lot of blood in it. It isn't until like the very fucking end of the movie where you finally get to see some blood. And I love that the line right afterwards, the main character's like, "I'm finished." And that's it. And then it shows the title, "There Will Be Blood." That was fucking great. I love that.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if like in this discussion, I mean, I guess we can say, like we'll try to avoid direct like spoilers, but that's probably not going to happen. Cuz this is more of a discussion about the movie.
Yeah, this shit ain't no fucking review. We're not reviewing this. We're just shooting the shit about this.
Yeah, so it's not a big.
Yeah, you've been warned. There's going to be some spoilers.
Yeah, it's more of a discussion about. I mean, no, I'm going to try to put out other stuff where I put out like recommendations and blah 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 blah, like good stuff, quick reviews. Like I don't like deep hardcore analysis about movies. I understand that people just want to know real quick, is the movie fucking good, some relative information about it, so that they have some reference to see if they're in the mood for it, which can affect whether you like a movie or not. So
yeah.
But yeah, this is just, something to throw up on this new channel that, we could just use our real first names. I'm okay with that.
Okay. You can just call me Daniel then.
Yeah, and I'm Justin, so. But yeah, with Daniel and myself and I, we just have begun this exchange of, information about movies and stuff like that, because I'm really into it. And whenever I find out, like with movies and music and video games and other stuff, it's like books, whatever, comic books, whatever, like you want to share that and talk about it and stuff. So this is basically a platform for us to talk about movies and stuff like that. I don't know. I think I just kind of rambled on there. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying.
Don't even worry about it, dude. So, going on to There Will Be Blood.
I think I'm just fucking exhausted from playing Destiny.
So yeah, going on with the movie.
Okay.
I fucking loved it. I thought it was a great movie. I thought it was excellent.
Yeah.
It was basically a character study of Daniel Day-Lewis's character, ironically also named Daniel. And you basically just see this man start from like... one of the things I really liked is like the first 10 or 20 or so minutes of the movie.
I'm really glad...
There's no dialogue.
Yes. I'm really fucking glad that you like that too, because to me, those are probably the best moments of the movie. And not to take away from the rest of the movie, but they're so important. Like,
because dialogue wasn't needed to get across what was happening.
Exactly. And it kind of shows, like, okay, before I saw this movie, I was a Daniel Day-Lewis fan. Gangs of New York, not a great movie, but his role is fucking solid. It's awesome. I would recommend seeing that movie just for his role.
I can believe it because watching this movie that was all about him, he
Mhm.
fucking carried the movie and he fucking like made it his bitch.
Oh yeah, and he does the same thing, and in the other movie, the fucking Gangs of New York, but more so because that movie's really not that strong. Cameron Diaz is in it, and she kind of mucks it up a bit. There's another guy in there, and he was really good, but he ended up dying or whatever. And then you have Leonardo DiCaprio, which his role was kind of weak in that movie, so I don't know. I mean, like he's kind of hit and miss, especially in his later days and stuff like that. But not to get too distracted. But Daniel Day Lewis is an awesome actor, and you should check out like other stuff that he's
Yes.
done. In Gangs in New York, his character is similar to Daniel Plainview's, and There Will Be Blood. It's like I don't know. It's like I guess his American, old timey American, revolutionary, like 1800s ish, you know, impersonation of what that would be like or whatever. But and it's what I wanted, It's everything that I anticipated, because he has done other things like My Left Foot, which it's a good movie, but not a whole lot of Daniel Day Lewis like wowing us with, his character, with his characters and stuff like that. He's a disabled person, and I think it's based off a true story or is a true story. Blah blah blah. It was a really good movie. It was like more of a drama, feeling type movie or whatever. So it's still a good movie. And then, but yeah, so check out his back catalog. It's fucking awesome. But anyway, I was super excited about seeing this movie, and I saw the preview in the theaters, and then I was like, oh my god, he's putting out another movie, and just I was super pumped for it. I went to the theater, and boom, no fucking dialogue. And you know what really it was kind of annoying because people are just like literally audibly in the theater just like confused. And I'm like, get out of the fucking theater. Just fucking leave. Like just
Get the fuck out
so
of
it's
here.
like there I know there's a perception where it's kind of like I could be perceived as like this fanboy of Daniel Day-Lewis to the point where it doesn't even make sense to people, but it's like, something like that happens when like you're watching a ton of movies and then you find somebody and they do a good job and then they do another good job and then they do an even better job, and then you're just like super excited about this person's catalog. You got on the wave of their career at the right time. So it's kind of like after that scene, the initial scene, like I was ready to just standing ovation and leave. I was satisfied. So the silence really just was everything. The movie was everything I could have expected or hoped for and more. So, but yeah,
It was a very purposeful and carefully crafted movie. I feel like the director did exactly what he wanted to do with this movie, especially considering the fact it's like almost 3 fucking
yeah.
hours long.
And that's another thing is I like long movies. I like really long, Western type movies. I like characters who sort of prefer to be that by themselves. I could list off a ton of movies like fucking Kevin Costner movies, which is kind of like a guilty pleasure, but I love. What the fuck is that movie? It's the Civil War, and then he dances with wolves. I mean, I
Dance with Wolves.
I actually saw that movie and like heard that there was a director's cut, and so I went out of my way to obtain a copy of that, and that's even longer. So and then another one of my top favorite movies is The Last Emperor, which is one of those Criterion films where they remastered it and all that stuff, and that's super long. It's like 4 hours long. So I love I guess, historically based, you know, cinematic Western, movies with these sort of like people who want to get away and stuff like that. So it really suited a lot of stuff that I like. There Will Be Blood. But yeah, so anyway.
So yeah, like with the movie, I'm not as partial to really long movies as you are, with exception to like Seven Samurai, which is like 4 fucking hours.
Yeah, that's super long movie.
Yeah, but the length in There Will Be Blood didn't bother me because everything, like I was mentioning before, it's a very meticulous movie. So everything felt purposeful. Everything felt like it fit. Nothing in the movie felt out of place. Um, like if you were watching a scene, it was because the director wanted that scene to be there in order to like either say something about a certain character or maybe some development, or it was to like show you something about like the plot or something. Like everything fucking fit. So it may be a long movie, but it was a movie that didn't waste your fucking time. It was a movie that knew exactly what it wanted to do, and as a result, it deserves its
Yeah,
length, I feel.
exactly. And to me, it doesn't feel like a long movie, actually. I could, I mean, like trying to burn through the Lord of the Rings trilogy, that's long, but to me, this is just kind of like two or 2.5 hours is basically what I look for in like a good quality movie. Like I've rarely seen a shorter film like capable of developing characters fast enough and effective enough for me to fucking care. So it's why you.
Well, like I was saying before, like this movie is basically a character study. It's all about Daniel Day
Yeah.
Lewis's character. Not to say that the other characters
Well,
aren't
I would.
important, but it's very clearly
Yeah.
focused on
I
his
mean, I would
character.
also say that it is a character study, but it's also one about the, I guess, the the other character that he is with him throughout the movie, which is the Eli Sunday,
Eli,
which
that
he is a
fucking
piece of
turd.
shit. But I enjoyed his presence in the movie because he kind of like he got toyed with, he got handled, you know, exactly
Multiple
like
times, literally
yeah,
and figuratively. That I love that scene where the guy's like Eli was like, "Where's my money?" and fucking like Daniel just like smacks him
yeah.
across the face, and he's like beating the shit out of him, and he's like putting him in the mud. And he's like, "I'm going to
I'm gonna
bury
bury you
you."
in the ground.
That was fucking awesome. I love that scene. That
Yeah.
was so good. I was like, "Fuck you, Eli, you piece of shit."
You know, he one scene that really kind of like did you get emotional like, like kind of did you feel like sort of any kind of like did you feel at any point that he showed any kind of weakness, which was kind of like sort of like it was very effective because most of the time you just felt he was a self-centered narcissistic, like greedy, horrible man.
Are you talking about a scene in particular?
Well, there's a couple of scenes which to me were very effective at conveying, I guess like Daniel's weakness, which is his son, you know.
Yeah.
And
That's exactly what like I was thinking of, like that scene um, where his son comes back, and there's the guy that he was like he threatened to like slit his throat in the other table, and he walked over to him and was like basically talking shit to his face because he's like, "You told me how to raise
yeah.
my family. You
Oh
see
yeah, the
that
guy
over there?
from
That's my
the other
son."
big oil company. I forgot the name
Yeah.
of it, but
Yes.
yeah, I mean, which I thought was a bit of an overreaction, but at the same time, he was right. You know what I mean? That other guy was
Mm-hmm.
a piece of shit in the same way. and he
Yeah, he was trying to
insulted
tell
him.
him like
He
how to raise
insulted
his
him,
family.
and back in the day things were different. You know what I mean? And but at the same time, you know what I mean? Like he just thought he could come in and buy up whatever he wanted to. And so I agree, and at the same time, like having a maniac, on your side, it feels good. So I mean, like I would be
Yeah.
proud to have him as a dad, because he's a badass. But
But then there is that scene where his son grows
yeah,
up,
but
and he wants to like separate from his father and have his own company. And Daniel's character was like, "Fuck you! You want to be my comparator?" And he's like, "No, you're not listening. That's not what I want." He's like, "Yes, that's exactly what it is." And he just fucking like threw him out and basically saying that you're an orphan. And
yeah,
that was like,
yeah,
fuck.
he's capable of being mean. I mean, like, but at the same time, it's kind of like as he grew up, he turned less into his son and just like another man, which and could be a threat to his success. So it's like, yes, he did love him and stuff like that, but at the same time, like he's kind of like grew out of it, and it's like which is more important to him.
I feel with his character, like he was kind of like destroyed by his own
Oh
greed
yeah,
in a way.
destroyed by his own success because he won. He won. He made the pipeline. He got the pipeline to the ocean, and he was able to ship directly out without using the railroads and paying all the railroad fees, which it was owned, like secret, indirectly by that other oil company. So it was like, it's good to see like him come from, just nothing. Like he was just
Yeah,
what, a gold miner.
and then he fucking found
Uh huh.
oil and got lucky, and he fucking rode on that shit for the entirety
Yeah.
of his life, basically.
And then well, touching on the emotional aspects is like, whenever basically Eli, um, like he's forced to go to church to buy up the bandy tract of land or whatever the
Hmm.
fuck.
Yeah, he wants
Yeah,
to buy that
but
one piece of land so he can like put the
instead of
pipe
going
through it.
around it, and it's like there's these
Yeah,
mountains,
and
and
wasting
it's
money.
like it's basically impossible, and so he needs that land to make it to the ocean as easily as possible and as fast as possible.
Yeah,
So,
but when he tried to buy it, the guy was like, "Oh, you got to join the church. I
well, the
want you to join
reason
the
why is
church."
because he sinned, and the reason why he sinned was because this guy showed up and was like, "I'm your brother," blah blah blah.
Yeah, that dude that
Yeah,
pretended to be his
which
brother.
he played he played that role really well. Like when somebody can make me hate, and it's just a movie, and it's directly related to their personality, nothing to do with like the way they look or whatever the fuck. If I know who they are in real life and I hate them outside because they're obnoxious and stuff like that. No, like
Hmm.
that guy, I don't think I've seen him in anything else. Uh, I'm not even gonna look up his name, but whoever the fuck that guy was, he, uh, he was a piece of shit in a different way. And he shows up and he's like, "Well, I'm your brother," and plays on, and this is another moment of weakness for Daniel. It's like he's like, "Oh my god, I have a brother," and he takes him in.
And he was being played
Yeah,
the
and
entire
so
time.
like, I mean, he's already like basically doesn't give a fuck about anybody, especially in his little, diatribe about.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I really like that too because he was basically saying like how he doesn't like people and that he sees the
Yeah,
worst in people and that he finds that there's nothing to like
yeah,
in other
he's
people. I
very
was like,
he's
fuck,
very
he's brutal.
competitive. Even when he says people, he pauses. There's a long pause there, and then he smirks and he's just
Mm.
like, these people or whatever the fuck. So it's like, he's very he's got a very low opinion about people, which I can definitely relate to. Which is another thing that I liked about the movie is like,
Actually, one thing I really liked about the movie was that I'm fairly certain that his character was like atheist, and I think the movie did left some like subtle hints here and there that he was like when not Eli but the Eli's brother, the one that first made him
Paul
told him about
Paul.
the oil. Yeah, he asked him if he was like what church he was a part of, and he's like, oh, I like all the churches, like just
Yeah,
sweet
exactly.
talking him. He's just like, oh, I like all of them, and as the movie goes on, you also find like other little hints like when after Eli does his fucking bullshit in the church, Daniel's character specifically says that was one hell of a show, implying that he didn't believe what actually happened. Was
But it
real.
also leaves enough
then-
wiggle room.
Yeah.
It's not throwing
Right.
it in your face. He's just kind of, he doesn't buy into it, and he's never seen anything to prove to him any reason to even give it the time of day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And then kind of like at the end, it kind of ties together when he forces Eli to start yelling that he was a false prophet and that God was a superstition. Which is fucking awesome. I love that scene. So
I love
good.
that scene too, especially when he's like gives him the kicker, where he's like the milkshake.
Yeah, like right afterward, the fucking bombshell right afterwards. He's like, "Oh, all that oil, it's
Yeah.
already been drilled."
I mean,
Dumbass.
the milkshake.
I drink your
The
milkshake.
milkshake scene is very infamous. Like a lot of people took away just that from the movie, and which was kind of disappointing.
I
but
drink
at the
your
same time,
milkshake.
it was a good point.
Fucking so good.
Going back, the vulnerabilities of him are few, and it's mostly to do with family, and he's got
Yes.
very few people that are close to him. He's got that one guy, which I can't remember his name, but he's like super close to him. He looks after HW, and anyway, the scene where he has to, after he kills his supposed brother, and then that guy who's got the land, he's like, well, you've sinned. He's like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, he forces him to go to church, and then Eli just has a fucking heyday with it, and then he smacks him around.
He's like, getting his little revenge for when he like dragged him through the mud.
Literally, and figuratively, but he does come to a realization there. You can see it in the change of the face on him. Whenever he's like, talking about his son, he's like, and when it's like, it doesn't matter about like Eli and what he's done to get revenge and stuff like that. He himself has a revelation at that point, and that is about his son.
Yes.
And then like when just the way that he says, "I've abandoned my boy," like it sends chills.
Yeah, and he kept repeating it.
It sends, even just like remembering it right now, like it gives me chills, and it's just like such a powerful moment, like in his acting in that movie. It's like it's one of my favorite moments because I like to hear him scream. I like to hear Daniel Day-Lewis scream. So
Yeah, because he's typically a kind of a soft-spoken guy. So to hear him like screaming was like, oh shit, it got real.
I mean,
but I do agree, like that was kind of like a turning point for his character in a way, because after that, to bring a little bit of context to those who haven't seen it, like sometime before that, he sends his son away because his son lost his hearing. I think it was implied that like he was just getting tired of dealing with that shit. And
he was, and he didn't know he had limitations, and that's a common thing. And it really brings up into question, like, why did he ever take that baby? Like, that's what I really want to know. And you know what I mean? Like, was he a softer man, but then he just he got fucked over? so many times. You know what I mean? Uh,
It could have been that, like, because he said himself when he was like dismissing his son that he took him in just so he could have like a cute face whenever he did dealings, but like that could have just been like heat of the moment.
I just don't buy into that. A newborn baby, maybe if the kid was already like 4 or 5 or 6, but then at that point, like, why didn't he ever get a replacement? You know what I mean? Like, why?
Yeah,
He could have just bought and sold children. There's a million, other solutions, but he raised that boy and he cared about him. So
yeah, like if it was his own
yeah,
son.
and we don't know really what happened. You know what I mean? And you're kind of left. It's left open ended. And to your interpretation as to what the truth is. Is that really his son? And he, you know, decided to do the right thing and be a father. For whatever reason, as the mom died, he left the mom. Like, who knows what the backstory is? But that's also kind of like what makes the movie really fucking awesome. Is it doesn't give a fuck. It doesn't focus on that. It's like, here's the movie. We're not gonna do this whole lore. Like, but yeah. So his son, immediately after the scene where Eli gets him in the church and blah blah blah. He brings him back because he sent him away to like California or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it was California, some school to be taught like how to do sign language and stuff like that. And it was really depressing too because before he sent him away, right? He was putting him to sleep early, like the sun was still up, and he'd give him like milk with a bunch of liquor in it and stuff like that, and you know, you could tell like it was really sad, and then he started
Yeah,
acting
I remember
out,
that.
and he tried to set the place on fire, the place where they were staying at, and then he just got fed up. He didn't know what to do. I mean, being a non-oil tycoon regular person, I'm sure, especially back in the day, was when was this? 1700s, 1800s?
1800s and
Yeah, it was the
1900s.
turn of the century, on the verge of or I'm sorry, not turn of between 1800s and 1900s. So it was like between late 1800s and early 1900s is whenever that
Yeah,
took place. So I mean, it would be really difficult to, um, you know,
deal with a kid that's
yeah.
deaf.
So luckily, he did have a lot of money, and so he sent him away to be taught and stuff like that. Which in itself, I mean, he could have just killed him. You know what I mean? Like if he was a ruthless piece of shit, he could have killed him. He could have done a million things with that kid, but he sent him away, and did what he thought was best. But at the same time, it also suited him. So it was like there's a duality there that he struggled with, that his character had trouble with, and in the end, like we've discussed, like I think he kind of lost that, especially after his son grows up and he goes away and he disconnects. There is a disconnect, whenever you grow up from your parents and stuff like that, at least for a little while, because you have to go off and make your own life, and so you grow apart.
But he took it like really badly, where he was saying like he felt that his son was like growing like hatred
Hmm.
for him or something.
Well, then you have like his character, which is prone to overreaction. He killed that guy that
Mm-hmm.
pretended to be his brother. He probably,
He also killed Eli.
yeah, in the end, yeah, he did kill Eli. Uh, and then he probably would have killed the other oil guy for insulting him and telling him how to, what to do with his spare time, which was it was
Yeah.
an offense, but it was a minor one. You know what I mean? So it's like, which in my opinion, like if you think about like the old days way back in the day and how dangerous it was, and how easily you could offend somebody and the extreme consequences of that, it's a very foreboding, place to exist in time. So it's like he was just a very explosive man. So
Yeah, he was very prone to his emotions at times.
I just think that it goes along with who he was as a character, And yeah,
I,
unfortunately,
yeah.
he did that to his son, but it doesn't seem out of character. It seems appropriate for it to happen.
One of the things I really liked about Daniel Day Lewis's performance is that he was able to convey a lot even when his character wasn't saying anything. Like
Oh yeah,
just based on like his
yeah.
eyes, you can like like during that scene in church where like Eli was like performing in exorcism or whatever. There was like arthritis in this old lady's hands, and he was like, "Leave, devil,
Oh God,
leave!" Like you can
that
tell.
scene, man, is the character who plays Eli Sunday in that. It's almost embarrassing. Like if I had to perform that, I would be embarrassed of myself. Not that it's a bad
Yeah,
performance, but I'm
but
just saying, like,
no, yeah, it was a really good performance. But I get what
yeah.
you're saying. But like I was saying, like you could I don't know if it was just me, but I could tell just like looking at his character's eyes, he knew it was bullshit. Like he was just like, what a fucking crock of
Mm-hmm.
shit. What a sham.
Totally. And I like
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that about his character is like, and I like that about westerns and like certain cowboy characters in westerns and a strong male, sorry, a strong male character is typically defined by how effortlessly they can see through bullshit. You know what I mean? And I love
hmm
that. Like I admire that quality and in real life, like and I enjoy that about his character.
It was a great character
Yeah.
and with a great actor. So it just culminated together and to just have this like just perfect fucking
It was the
performance.
perfect storm.
And that's part of what made the movie really work, since you have this great actor doing this great character and the movie is just following along this fucking character. It's fucking
Fuck
phenomenal.
man, I really want to watch that movie tonight again. Like
Watch
no
that shit
shitting.
again.
I mean, like I'm trying to see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about regarding the movie, the plot and the characters specifically, but I'm not quite sure. I mean, I just love the fucking movie. I think that it's. I mean, is there something else you wanted to add, or? I mean, there's other stuff I wanted to talk about, but I just wanted to make sure, like some of the big PowerPoints were taken care of.
I think I hit everything I want like to talk about the movie. One thing I do want to say though is another movie I saw by the same director um, was Punch Drunk
Oh yeah,
Love,
yeah, yeah. That's a good
and
segue.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that movie as much. It was one of those movies that I can like if I subtract myself from the equation, I can see and be like, yeah, this is a well crafted movie in a lot of respects, but it's not like the movie just wasn't for me. And by comparison, There Will Be Blood. Whether I'm putting myself in or out of the equation is irrelevant. I fucking think it's a great movie, and I fucking loved it.
Mm.
So I guess that's kind of the difference between the two, for me at least.
The the cool thing about a movie like this is that like it it poses questions. It makes you think and stuff like that. And I was I just wanted to pull up. Usually, like I don't really care what people think, but when a movie is like kind of like veiled and like odd things and mysteries and really makes you want to dig into it a little bit further and have a discussion, which is one reason why we picked this movie to talk about, because it is one of my favorite movies, and unlike some of my other favorite movies, there's less like symbolic things or double meanings, and you know what I mean, like there's less going on in some of my other favorite movies. So this one gives like a lot of interesting dialogue and stuff to talk about. But I have
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Bukowski in that way, where it is what it is. It cuts the
yeah.
bullshit.
It does, but then like people are still kind of like thinking about it long after they see it,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
So, just real quick, I got some stuff on IMDb pulled up because I wanted to see, you know, I did a quick Google and I was like, oh, okay, let's pull up some stuff to see what people are saying about this, and like it does mention that it's loosely, very loosely based on a book called Oil, which was
Yeah, I remember seeing that in the
yeah,
credits.
1927 was when it was written. It's so loosely, you know, compared. Basically, it's not even like worth mentioning.
Yeah, kind of like with the anime series Gungrave, where apparently it's like extremely loosely based on like a Sergio Leone film. I think it's called Once Upon a Time in America. Is that what it's called? Let me
Oh
fucking
yeah,
check
yeah.
that
I
shit
think
real
that's what it
quick.
is.
But like, it's having seen the show, like it's so like it's so far removed because I haven't seen the movie, but my dad has, and we saw the show together. And after the fact, I brought it up, and I was like, "Oh yeah, apparently like this was inspired by or like loosely a remake of that movie." And he's like, "Oh, I can kind of see it."
Mm-hmm.
Like it didn't even register until like I brought it up. And he was just like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Yeah, I can kind of see it," but like it's so loose, like you normally wouldn't even pick up
That's
on it.
hella loose, huh? One thing that about this film that makes it at its core great is that it's an easy concept to understand. It's like this fucking oil tycoon, basically. You know how he got to start,
Hmm.
his rise, etc. You know, I mean, it's pretty basic, right? But then there's a lot of meat to it after that. You know what I mean? So, whereas some movies, you know, they're so confusing and convoluted and contrived and blah blah blah. It's like I have seen movies like that even by directors that I love, you know, and like while I can break out the piece of paper and pull up some notes and you know think about it and do some research, it's not as enjoyable. You know, there's a level. Everybody has an acceptable level of like um, you know what they'll tolerate. But for me, I think
Hmm.
that that's also what adds to this movie's greatness is that it's an American story basically, even though Daniel Day Lewis is not American. uh, it's a good you know chunk of American history and stuff like that. Um, there's some other questions on this IMDb thing that are kind of you know just interesting to see what people are confused about or whatever, right? And it's like, why does Daniel turn down the contract at the beginning of the film? And it's got you know an answer or you know somebody's opinion basically, but I think that was interesting but also kind of obvious to me. You know, I mean, like even whenever I initially saw the movie, like I was just like you know, like already like I got a sense of like how determined this guy was, and I was like,
Hmm.
and not only that, but it sort of like adds to his reputation. But basically, the long story short version is, you know, they were too as you know they looked too savvy is what it says, and they couldn't be taken advantage of, you know. But to me, uh, it seems more like they were not too savvy, but there was too much fighting going on. So with that already developing, it seems like a very difficult, especially proving, you know, where he, you know, later on when he goes and gets the tip from Paul Sunday, and he goes to the location, and like that seems like a pretty prime place to take advantage of, right? Everybody's very docile and they're just like whatever, stupid, right? They don't really argue, and so they even then there was issues. You know what I mean? That he got. So
Yeah.
with a situation like that, it just was very obvious, you know, especially if you've seen the movie a couple of times. You're like, oh, yeah, I mean, that's definitely not a hard thing to understand, but I just thought that was interesting. Uh, and then why are Paul and Eli Sunday played by the same actor? It's like, what? I mean, that's an odd thing that they did. So it's kind of
Maybe they're
like,
twin brothers. I don't
yeah,
fucking
but at
know.
the same time, it's like, why do you think that the director did that is a better, question. It's just like, what was
Hmm.
your, I thought that was very peculiar and kind of like, I mean, I could give it some thought, but basically I thought more of like a symbolic thing, and you have Cain and Abel and Bible things, because there was, biblical, things involved with the movie and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I just thought it was very peculiar. I don't really have an answer for that, but I think that's an interesting thing to think about. While it's so there, you don't really question it, but you're not to say, when you take a second and pull back, you're like, why is that? And there's a bunch of
Yeah, because it did confuse me because at first I thought they were the same character, and I was like, oh no, wait, they're supposed to be two different characters, and it did confuse me.
yeah, there's a bunch of other
But
questions and stuff like that. But I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna fucking read through them. But it's just interesting, because there are people out there that want to know more about the film, because it's a strange movie. So
yeah, and then I think if it garners not garners but rather like if it inspires this much
hmm
discussion, then you know there has to be something good underneath it in order to have this much people like want to talk about it.
yeah, and just not that I give a fuck about ratings most of the time, because IMDb is like a really I don't
Terrible.
like I mean, most of the time, like, I go for like the 6 or 7s, and those are like really good movies to me. But in the case of There Will Be Blood, it's 8.1, which I'm surprised, and that's from 290,349 users. It says it's got a Metascore of 92 out of 100. Um, yeah, man, a lot of people reviewed this movie. Rotten Tomatoes gave
Yeah,
it, what, fuck, 91% or some shit like that, which is pretty fucking high. And the average,
I usually don't. Yeah, I usually don't take those scores too much into
right,
consideration. Like there's this site that I use called My Anime List because I watch a lot of anime, and it lists like it ranks like what are like the top rated anime, and um, it has Fullmetal Alchemist as like the number one. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood specifically is like the number one highest rated anime on the site. And while I do love that fucking anime, and I'd say it probably deserves that spot more than others, me personally, I don't quite think it deserves that. And then like right under it is Steins Gate, which it's a good show. Steins Gate is a very good show, but the second highest rated anime on the fucking site, hell no,
yeah.
it's not that fucking good.
Rating systems are very odd. But in this case, since I have seen the movie so much, and, what I mean, we have our opinions on it. It's interesting to take a look at how those perspectives on the movie and our opinion and tastes and stuff like that factor into how the world at large rate. And this movie's fairly popular. It's not like it flew under the radar or whatever. It was fairly successful. Um,
Yeah, it made its money back and
oh
then
yeah,
some.
it definitely profited. Um,
That's always good to see.
yeah, especially for Daniel Day Lewis, because I want to see him continue. Um, but Amazon, it's as a product or whatever the fuck DVD, it's got 4 stars, 676 customer reviews. So it's favorable all around the board, So um, you should definitely check it out. I think. Uh,
Yeah.
Roger Ebert. I looked up his review of it, and I was like, He gives it 3.5 stars. Do they have a 5 star? Does he have a 5 star or 4?
No, he's just out of
Okay,
4.
so yeah, 3.5 stars out of 4, and I skimmed through it, and too long, don't want to read it all, but I go down to the bottom, and it's basically final thoughts are: There Will Be Blood is the kind of film that is easily called great. I'm not sure of its greatness, and then I was like kind of rolling my eyes, and then it was, and then he goes on. It was filmed in the same area of Texas used by No Country for Old Men, which I thought was really interesting. That is a fucking badass movie, which I agree with him. And he goes on, and that is a great film and a perfect one, which I agree with. That movie's amazing.
I need to check that shit out. Then.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that he compared it to, because like I would suggest these two movies interchangeably, like together actually. I mean, don't think it's the same movie by any means, but you'll just have to watch it, and then like you'll know what I mean. Like, there's a very strong, and they were made by the brothers, the Coen brothers.
Coen Brothers, yeah.
But
They made Fargo, and I fucking loved Fargo.
No Country for Old Men is far superior, and I liked Fargo. Don't get me wrong, I loved Fargo, but
I saw some of the Fargo series, and I thought that was pretty good.
I was gonna start watching that, and then like I heard like it got canceled.
Oh, really?
Or something. I don't know. I have to look into that. But I heard it was really violent and stuff. I was like, sweet, I'll watch it.
The end of the first episode has some nice gore in it.
Yeah, I heard like a lot of people die in just the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, that's true.
Excellent. To continue with his review, Mr. Ebert, he said that, but There Will Be Blood is not perfect, and in its imperfections, it's, in brackets there, its unbending characters, its lack of women or any reflection of ordinary society, its ending, its relentlessness. So those are, in short, some of his problems with the movie, which I can understand some of those, like ordinary society, reflection of ordinary society. It was, I mean, that's kind of an interesting point. Lack of women, I don't care.
Yeah, that's irrelevant.
There was women in there, and like I don't need to hear about their like very boring basic life. And that's not to say that and I'm not trying to put down women. I'm just saying that like in that time period, like I mean, what the fuck, like what are you gonna show about women? And besides that, it was a character, like you said, it's a character study of Daniel Day-Lewis's character, basically, primarily. Overall, there was other women. There was the little girl, that he protected, and he whatever, you know what I mean. And
and then his son married her.
Yeah, so it's like they weren't absent. I don't know what his deal is, so I'd have to read through the whole fucking review, which I'm probably not gonna do. But
fuck that.
What really kind of makes me lose it is the ending. And it's just like the ending is polarized with people. Like,
I liked it.
You either like it or you
good.
didn't like it. And to me, it was like the cherry on top. It was just like, and to me, it was like letting us know that the director was like didn't really take himself too seriously, because like the movie's rough, gritty, and blah 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 blah, right? But at the same time, it was just like, you know what? Fuck it.
We're done. I'm finished.
Done. I made this badass movie. Whatever. Who cares? It's over. Leave.
Because I also kind of liked how like the end of the movie is like, it doesn't really give you an indication of what's to come next. Like, because it kind of, when he says "I'm finished," it's also kind of symbolic in a way and representative of himself. Like, he's completely done. There's nothing left for him to do. So like, what happens later isn't even fucking relevant.
Yeah, it was an interesting line, and one that I thought about for a little bit. I was just like, was my first interpretation of that line actually what was meant by the director and or by the actor. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, it's a movie, and I was
It was
satisfied
finished.
with it, and it was awesome. So who fucking cares? You know. So.
Well, we care because we've been talking about it.
Oh yeah, I
'Cause
don't
we
care if
fucking
people have a
yeah.
problem with the ending because I thought it was awesome. So fuck them.
No, yeah, it was an awesome ending. I liked it. I thought it was good.
I did too.
Um,
I g-
I think we've said pretty much all there is to say about. I mean, there is of course more discussion to be had concerning the movie, but I think we've said most of our piece. What do you think?
yeah. I mean, I think this is about an hour discussion, so I think all the big points are in, you know, and all of the side ramble is definitely taken care of. I really hope there isn't something that like I'm forgetting, but the movie's fucking awesome, and I love it, and I'll probably watch it again tonight, maybe.
We need to make another video about True Detective because
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
say that of the things that you've wanted me to watch, True Detective is like at the tippity motherfucking
I
top.
agree. That
It's
if that was a movie, I would have to say like you know what I mean. That might rival There Will Be Blood. But the only
yeah.
reason why it doesn't currently is because it's too long, and
It's not a movie. It's a
yeah,
fucking
I take
it's a
that back. I'm
series.
sorry, it's not too long. It's perfect. That
No,
series
yeah,
is perfect. That is the most perfected, like, and you know what? Like, I'll save it all for another day. But that series made me a fucking, the Dallas Buyers Club piqued my interest with Matthew McConaughey, but uh, that series fucking I was just like, wow, bravo, dude, like you fucking did a great job because him and Woody Harrelson were also producers, and I
yes.
think they helped with the writing. They were very involved with that series. So yeah, that's an awesome series. So that's a extra little thing.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that shit one of these days. And motherfucker, you need to watch Berserk. That is a deep show. That is a deep motherfucking show that we have to
Is it
muse over.
cavernous?
We what?
Is it cavernous?
What do you mean by cavernous?
It's deep, like a cave.
Ah, you fucking piece of shit.
I'll go.
It is a deep show though. And like it is like the character relations in that are not something that you can dissect easily, particularly between Guts and Griffith in that show. The relationship that the two of them have is it's very intricate, and like to the point where like usually you can like between relationships with other people you can just say, oh, they're friends, oh, they're lovers, oh, they're comrades, oh, they're compatriots, they're usually you can have like a label for how you define a relationship between people. I don't think there is any label that is fit to describe the relationship between Guts and Griffith. Nothing really. There is no one label that fits because of how many layers there are to the relationship between the two characters.
Well, I don't know anything about it, so I guess I'll have to watch it.
Yes, you fucking do.
Alright, I guess that's gonna fucking be it for this, whatever the fuck you would call it, this initial episode.
Pilot.
Pilot. Definitely a fucking pilot. This is some rough cuts right here. We'll have to get that shit taken care of. But anyway, I don't know. I hope somebody out there can watch an hour-long discussion between us.
Yeah, just some guy just enjoying us just dicking around, jerking off to fucking how amazing There Will Be Blood is.
Yeah. I wonder how big this file's gonna be. I've never recorded this much. But yeah.
Anyways, that's pretty much it. We're out. See you later, folks.
Bye.